Well, this week on the bench, I want to talk a little bit about tying really effective leech patterns. Now, what we've done in the past is we used to tie them on normal hooks, the curved hooks, the longer kind of nymph hooks, things like that, anywhere size 8, 10s, even 12s. But this week, we're going to tie some on jig hooks. Now, jig hooks have been very popular. We have done them on, like we said, the balance leech. It was on a jig hook with a pin, extended the bead out. But what I've found lately is just by tying on these, any kind of the hammock type hooks, any kind of the jig hooks, especially size 10s and 8s, have made very effective leeches with, 1/8 beads on the front and really simple to tie. I'm going to show you that today. And you only need 2 ingredients. So one of the main ingredients is I love all the different Arizona semi-seals available. They've got the brown bricks, they've got the, the purples, the darker colors, they've got the greens, the blacks, everything you want. That's all you need is you need some Arizona semi-seal, but the key ingredient is all the different options you have now for the light bright. So there's light bright and angel hair. Now light bright and angel hair are all very similar. They have that beautiful sparkle to them and they really accentuate the fly. And you can go again, you can go really bright, you can go dark, but those are the 2 main ingredients you need. You need light bright and or the angel hair, and definitely some really good Arizona semi-seal. It just fluffs up, it creates some great leeches. So let's go and tie Don's blood red jig leech. This one we used in Stump Lake last year with Brian Chan and my brother, the bulldog, of course my brother Dale. And they were shocked on how good it was. Brian had to grab one and he had a phenomenal day, and it's going to be on one of our upcoming series. So here we go. Let's get ready with the tie. It's Don's blood leech. So let's go over the materials you're going to need to tie the fly. So I've got a 400 BL hook, a nice jig hook. You need the slotted jig bead. So I've got a 1/8 black nickel slotted tungsten bead. You want them slotted so they fit properly on the jig hooks. Other beads will work, but these work the best. I'm going to tie with some 12-aught red thread. This is waxed Semperfli red thread. Makes a real nice hot spot on the fly, and I really like it. So again, that's the 12-aught red. For your body, we're going to use the blood leech semi-seal. So that's Arizona semi-seal, and it's the blood red. So it makes a very nice color, blood leech they call it. And really for our tail and other body highlights, I'm going to use some purple angel hair. Now again, the purple light bright works good, but I really like this purple angel hair for the tail and the body highlights. So let's get going. So we're gonna start with a base layer of thread. And just put it on like we always do. And wind it back to your hook bend. So just get it right at the hook bend. Then what we're going to do is just pull off some of this angel hair. Now you don't want a whole bunch. Here's where a lot of people make the mistake, is they actually take too much material. They make it just too thick. So all I'm going to do is just pull a little bit off. So I've got just a small amount and just wind it. Don't do anything with it. Just wind it together, wrap it over, wind it. Just all I'm doing is just rolling it in my fingers. Okay, and then just tie it in the back. Wrap a few forward and then bring that excess back over and wrap over. And that's going to form a small tail, and always go behind your tail. Now, what we're going to do is pull it to length. Never cut it. So all I'm doing is just fraying that out and pulling it, and that'll give it a nice bushy tail. All you want is a small tail highlight. The biggest mistake people make is they put too much material on there. Just a small amount. You don't need a bunch. Now, for the next stage, we're going to take our dubbing, and really, on this stage, I like to have a dubbing spinner, a dubbing winder. So we're just going to hook this in, just to get ready for our dubbing. So that's on there. Now make it about, I'm probably making that a few inches long, just to make sure the body gets dubbed up, and form a dubbing loop. And just wind your thread forward, just to get it out of the way. You just want that out of the way for now. Now here's the other mistake a lot of people make, is they put way too much dubbing in their dubbing loop. So all I'm going to do is just pull little bits off and place it in. And you don't have to worry about just, again, don't put too much in. I'm just taking small portions of my dubbing because I want this leech to be fairly thin. I don't want it to be a real thick leech. Leeches can be thick, but I prefer the thinner leeches. And there we go. So I've got all my dubbing on there now. I'm just going to give it just one quick spin, and I'm just going to pull out a little bit excess, but not much. And then I'm just going to keep it off the back now, and that's going to be to dub in the body later. Now the next phase, we're going to do another dubbing loop. So this is going to be our highlight now. So this is a good alternative when you don't want to blend your dubbing. What happens is if you put your dubbing in a blender, it blends it all together. Now you won't have this distinct mixture blended with this. It'll blend them all together, and then you end up with something you don't want. What I want is this material as a highlight in my body, only a few fibers here and there, and this to be the main part. And if you blend that, that doesn't happen. So what we're going to do is show you this trick to really get a really nice, what I call accentuated body, just highlights in the body. So create another loop about the same size. Try to match it up. Again, bring your thread forward. If you have a nice thing there, you can get it out of the way. And again, here, small amounts. So all I'm doing is pulling out just small amounts of my sparkle. And you don't need much. It's just really, really small amounts of that sparkle. And just keep placing it in the loop. So I've got enough sparkle there. I've got a few strands. You can see it's just really loose, right? It's just really random, and then just start spinning. And move it around. Pull out some longer hairs that you have, and make sure it's fairly even. So there, I've now got some nice sparkle all the way along. Very thin, again, you can see it's just a thin amount. Take your other loop now that you had, so we're going to put the two together. I'm going to combine them. I'm going to take this main spinner off now, dubbing spinner, unhook my hackle pliers, hook them to both of them now, and now what I'm going to do is just spin them together, and I'm going to take about 5 or 6 reps. That's it, as I pull them together. So now I've got some nice highlights in my dubbing, and now I'm just going to move my thread out of the way, and I'm going to wrap this forward and form the body. So now, as you wrap forward and form the body, pull that material back. And don't be afraid to go over it a few times, because we're really going to pull this out with our dubbing pliers after. With our dubbing, we've got this little homemade dubbing pliers here. They're not pliers, but little dubbing brush. It's awesome. Little Velcro pulls it all out. And just keep wrapping that forward. And keep pulling all that material back. And you'll see you're getting just a few little highlights in the body that have blended in. And if you would have blended it together, if it would dubbing blend, I wouldn't have got the same colors or the same combination. Take it right up to the head end and tie off. And once you tie off, just cut off your excess. Pull that material back. And then what we do is always leave a bit at the head end. So make sure you leave a nice open area. Sometimes I'll put in some dubbing right at the head end. But on this one here, I'm just going to form up a nice red head. So there's my hot spot. So now I've got a leechy body and a nice hot spot on the fly. And tie this off. Sometimes I'll put in really floral color. I've gone to other really light dubbings, like some greens at the head end to dub in that area, but I like leaving that red hot spot. Cut off that excess. And now take your dubbing pick and just pick it all out. And no, you can be pretty harsh on this because that material is pretty tough. Once you've done a good dubbing loop, it should hold it all in place. And just bring it all backwards. Make sure you pull out as much material as you can. Now you can see when I bring this back and blend it all to the tail, I'm just going to make sure it blends to a nice point, pull off anything extra, and then you have a real nice body. And that's really the leech I want. I want a nice thin leech. So when this hits the water, a lot of leeches really, especially if you boil this, if I put this in water and give it a quick boil, all this material will lay flat on the fly. I don't do that with this pattern. With this pattern, I want it to puff up a little bit. I want it to be a little more bulky in the water, so I'll actually leave it. So once you have it like that, and you have a real nice thin leech, these are great to imitate small leeches, which I think the majority of the fish feed on. They like them smaller. I mean, they will take big leeches, but you know, a leech that size, it's nice and thin, very attractive to the fish. So change it up. Again, try all the different light brights, try all the different the dubbings you have for leeches, and you can make some really creative jig leeches like this one that are deadly.